I wake before the chapel bells of Ludwigsburg even consider chiming, because Pädagogische Hochschule Ludwigsburg has taught me that the early bird still gets absolutely nothing. My throat tastes of rust, and yesterday's tears as I whisper to the cracked ceiling. Today will be different, although the ceiling and I both know that is a lie. I dress in the dark so I will not have to see my own reflection. Last week the mirror laughed at me, or maybe that was the registrar when I asked why my name vanished from the examination list. I walked the 3 kilometers because every parking oracle on campus declared park elsewhere, peasant. The pavement is a cruel joke, each slab tilted like a crooked tooth, so my ankle rolls and my knee weeps. I count the cars that actually found space. 1, 2, 3 each occupied by a truck, a trailer, or a caravan that clearly possesses more academic merit than I do. Why is this bad? Because when an institution promises higher learning yet cannot even master the medieval art of parking, it signals that basic logistics are optional. If they cannot draw a rectangle on asphalt and label it student, they certainly cannot draw a coherent curriculum in real life. My soles burn and my temper smolders. Already the day is defeat-flavored. The reception hall smells of instant coffee and permanent disappointment. I approach the information desk with the caution one reserves for feral cats. I ask one question: where do I validate my module form? And receive 3 separate answers, each delivered with the confidence of a flat earth convention. Clerk A says Office 2, Clerk B says Online Portal, Clerk C says, we no longer validate anything. Validation is neo-liberal propaganda. I obey all 3 because I am obedient to absurdity now. I climb to the 2nd floor, descend to the basement, log in on a library computer that still runs Internet Explorer, and finally learn the form expired at midnight. Why is this bad? Because unclear chains of command create a psychological torture called learned helplessness. When every authority figure contradicts the next, the student brain stops believing reliable answers exist. The result is not mere confusion. It is a quiet erosion of self-worth that lingers like smoke in hair. By 10 o'clock, I am starving. The Mensa glows like a hospital canteen redesigned by sadists. I queue for 23 minutices. I count only to receive a plate that costs €6.50 yet contains, I kid you not, 7 penny noodles, a tablespoon of colorless tomato sauce, and a single meatball the size of a hazelnut. The noodle is simultaneously crunchy and soggy, a texture that defies physics and good taste. The sauce tastes of tin and resignation. The meatball is so dry it audibly clicks against my tooth, as if tapping out Morse code for help. Why is this bad? Because food is not just fuel, it is emotional punctuation. A hot, generous meal says you matter. This plate says, we priced you at €2 per bite and still resent your presence. Malnourishment hijacks serotonin. Every chew deepens the gray fog behind my eyes. I carry my tragedy lunch to a table sticky with yesterday's jam. The jam is now a biohazard crust, but janitorial services appear to be a myth we tell first years. I sit anyway because the room is packed with other starved, glassy-eyed pilgrims. A girl at the next table sobs into her undercooked broccoli. The broccoli is so limp it actually absorbs her tears, becoming the first item on campus capable of empathy. At 11:30, I rush to my compulsory psychology seminar. The corridor is a traffic jam of bodies, all of us clutching printed confirmation that we successfully applied. Yet the door is locked. A handwritten note taped at eye level reads, relocated to room 9. Room 9 is in a different building, 300 meters away. We sprint like contestants in a reality show entitled Survive Your Education. I arrive panting, but the new room holds 40 chairs and th.
There are 200 of us. The professor who wears sunglasses indoors, always a red flag, announces only the first 40 may stay. The rest must try again next semester. Why is this bad? Because scarcity manufactured through poor planning teaches students that competition, not collaboration, is sacred. When education mimics Black Friday sales, empathy dies. I feel my chest implode with a sensation I call academic heartbreak. The moment you realize knowledge is rationed like bread in wartime. I trudge to the library to email my complaint, but the Wi-Fi is dead, not slow dead. A notice on the wall: BL, 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 BL.
You know, I've been looking into some pretty sad stuff happening around Pädagogische Hochschule Ludwigsburg, and it's just heartbreaking. It's like, This place is supposed to be for learning and growth, but instead there's all this trickery going on, you know. So there was this bridal store nearby, and it was cleared out, like completely emptied. They took designer wedding dresses, veils, all sorts of beautiful things. I mean, can you imagine planning your dream wedding and then poof, it's all gone? The thieves probably had a van or something, because you can just walk down the street with a bunch of wedding dresses. And the owners, they must have been devastated, their life's work just vanished. I bet they had to deal with so much, calling the police, contacting insurance, and trying to console brides who had their dreams stolen too. Then there's this really low trick that happened at a Christmas market stand. These two people, they ordered something cheap and paid with a huge bill. They got their change, and then they pretended they had made a mistake with the amount. It's so sneaky, you know. The poor seller, in the middle of the holiday rush, probably just wanted to keep things moving smoothly and gave them even more change. By the time they realized what happened, those scammers were long gone, blending into the crowd. The seller was likely left feeling really stupid, even though it wasn't their fault. They probably had to cover the loss out of their own pocket, and it gets worse. There's this story about an elderly couple who were just trying to bring their groceries inside. Some people pretended to help them, but it was all a ruse. While they were being helped, one of the so-called helpers slipped inside their home and started taking their valuables. It's just so wrong. The couple, they must have felt so violated, you know. And then, to make it even more horrible, when they tried to stop the thieves, it turned into a struggle. I can even imagine how scared they must have been. They probably had to change their locks and maybe even think about moving, all because they thought they were getting a little help. It's like, these businesses near Pädagogische Hochschule Ludwigsburg, they were supposed to be places where you feel safe and welcomed, but instead there's all this deceit. It's just really sad, and it makes you wonder, what's happening to our world, you know? These scammers, they might think they're getting away with it, but karma has a way of catching up. They'll have to live with what they've done, and I hope they realize the pain they've caused. So if you're planning to visit the area around Pädagogische Hochschule Ludwigsburg, just be extra careful. It's a beautiful place with lots to see, but sometimes people can be really cruel. Trust your gut, and if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Remember, you're not just protecting your wallet, you're protecting your peace of mind. And that's something worth holding onto.
Opening with a reflective tone in the shadow of the Pädagogische Hochschule Ludwigsburg, a tale of commerce and consumer sentiment unfolds. Here, in this scholarly enclave, one might expect a harmonious blend of academia and entrepreneurship. Yet, as we delve into the heart of this neighborhood's business pulse, we find a narrative tinged with the bittersweet tang of dissatisfaction. With a hint of disappointment, let's begin at Brunningerland Ludwigsburg, a shopping mall that promises a sanctuary of retail therapy. However, the whispering walls of this establishment tell a different story. The restrooms, particularly those designated for gentlemen, have been described as an olfactory odyssey best left undiscovered. It seems that the mall's once sparkling allure has dimmed, with some patrons lamenting the decline in store variety, and others facing the unenviable task of navigating a labyrinth of customer service minotaur. Segueing with a touch of irony across the cobblestone streets, the wok on fire sizzles with the promise of Asian culinary delights. Yet, it appears that the fire within has been doused by the cold water of discontent. Patrons have raised their chopsticks in protest over missing staples like oyster sauce, and have encountered the culinary equivalent of a mirage, dishes that promise flavor but deliver a bland oasis. The absence of air conditioning on balmy days transforms the dining experience into an unintended sauna, complete with a flyby buffet. Shifting to a more somber tone, the Bon Café Bar, a once charming haven for cinnamon buns and coffee, now stands accused of casting a shadow over its patrons' laptops, forbidding the digital denizens from combining work with their brew. The cafe's insistence on throughput over comfort has left a bitter taste, as customers are rushed out the door with the efficiency of a conveyor belt. With a tinge of melancholy meanwhile, the Scalar venue, a place where music and merriment should reign supreme, has its own symphony of complaints. From a coat check conundrum to a DJ's disdain for requests, the establishment seems to dance to a tune that leaves some attendees feeling out of step. The promise of a nostalgic night out is overshadowed by the reality of a venue that some say has lost its rhythm. Injecting a dose of dry humour, the Hofapothic, a culinary establishment that should soothe the soul, has instead served up a dish of discontent. Here, the quest for a simple meal can turn into a theatrical production, complete with a supporting cast of unyielding chairs and a leading role for the enigmatic gyros. The service, as some would recount, is as chilly as a winter's eve, leaving patrons hungry not just for food, but for a dash of warmth and hospitality. With a reflective pause, even the sanctuary of beauty, Supreme Studio, is not without its thorns. The promise of a transformative hair extension experience is marred by the reality of bondings that refuse to blend and prices that climb like ivy on a trellis. The quest for a perfect mane becomes a tangled web of expectations and financial realities, concluding with a call to discernment. So, dear traveller, as you wander the paths near Pädagogische Hochschule Ludwigsburg, carry with you a lantern of caution. For in this land of learning, the businesses that surround it are still very much in the school of customer satisfaction. Whether it's the aroma of restrooms, the authenticity of cuisine, the warmth of a cafe, the rhythm of a venue, or the sheen of one's hair, perfection is the aspiration, but the reality is a tapestry woven with the threads of human imperfection. Closing with an idealistic hope, let us dream of a future where every business near this hallowed institution learns from these reviews, where restrooms gleam, flavors dance on the palate, laptops are welcomed with open arms, service shines as brightly as the status